Okay, let's dive in. We've got this fascinating set of sources. You brought articles, a government plan, all zeroing in on a really specific moment in China's EV market.
That's right. We're talking about this surge in electric vehicle sales that seemed to come out of nowhere, starting late 2020.
Yeah, the sources mentioned even Chinese media use terms like suddenly to describe it.
Which is interesting because, just before that, things weren't looking quite so rosy. We even touched on this in a previous deep dive, vol.062. There were signs they were struggling to hit earlier government targets.
Right. And then the pandemic hit, adding more uncertainty.
Exactly. But then, bam, late 2020, things just took off. It felt quite abrupt.
So our mission today is to really unpack why. Why did it feel so sudden? What were the real drivers behind those headlines?
And what does China's own planning tell us about where this is all heading? We want to pull out the core insights from this material for you.
Okay, let's set that scene then, before late 2020. Maybe not a picture of runaway success.
No, definitely not. There were those missed targets we mentioned. Sales actually dipped in 2019, and the start of the pandemic didn't help things initially.
But then came this period the Chinese media called suddenly.
And the numbers really paint that
Funny.
picture. The overall car market in China had been sliding since 2017.
Yeah, general downward trend.
But NEVs, new energy vehicles, so
Mhm.
mostly EVs and plug-in hybrids, they bounced back hard. They hit 1.367 million units in 2020.
After that dip in 2019.
Right. And the key thing is a lot of that growth was packed into the second half of 2020. It was really concentrated.
So what was actually selling? What drove that surge? One name that jumped out from the sources was the Wuling Hongguang MINI EV.
Ah, yes, the tiny one. The sources describe it almost like a Japanese car, super small,
And the price point?
incredibly low, like 30,000 yuan, that's around 490,000 yen, extremely affordable.
Wow, for a new car, that's...
It really is. And apparently, even though it was mass-produced, they couldn't make them fast enough, demand was huge.
And it had this adorable design, the source says, leading to customization.
Yeah, like a whole modding scene sprang up. People were hacking them, customizing them. It fits into this category some call Daibosh.
Which means?
Basically a walking alternative. So it groups these little EVs with things like electric scooters, less a traditional car, more a personal mobility gadget.
Okay, so was the boom just these super cheap microcars then?
No, and that's crucial. The sources are very clear on this. The Wuling MIS was a big part of the volume, yes.
But not the whole story.
Not at all. At the same time, starting late 2020, you saw significant growth in mid to high-end models. Think Tesla, BYD, and NIO. They were all seeing sales climb, too.
That's interesting. So both ends of the market were booming simultaneously.
Pretty much. Take NIO, for example. The source gives January 2021 numbers, 7,225 new registrations.
This was a big jump.
Huge, over 350% year on year, and it was their sixth straight month of record deliveries.
And these NIO cars are definitely not in the willing price range.
Oh no, we're talking roughly 4 to 6 million yen, so a completely different segment driving growth as well.
Okay, so we've got the what micro-EVs and premium EVs surging and the when late 2020. Now for the big question, why then? What actually caused this sudden takeoff?
Well, the sources point to a few things coming together, and one of them is, perhaps surprisingly, the COVID-19 pandemic.
The pandemic. How would that boost EV sales? Seems counterintuitive.
I know, right? But think about it. First, the obvious. People got wary of crowded buses and subways. Personal cars felt safer.
Okay, that makes sense. More demand for private transport.
But there's a more specific angle for China mentioned in the source.
Yeah.
This idea of IC or courtesy or internal circulation.
Which was originally an economic idea.
Yeah, about boosting domestic demand. But it also sort of translated into how people traveled. Fewer long-distance trips, more staying within your own province, maybe city-based tourism, shorter journeys to reduce risk.
Ah, okay. So less need for those spontaneous cross-country road trips.
Exactly. And that lifestyle shift kind of accidentally neutralized one of the biggest headaches for EVs, range anxiety.
Because if you're mostly doing local trips or day trips,
Your typical EV range is suddenly perfectly fine. Maybe one planned charge stop, maybe none. The limitation became less relevant for how people were actually using vehicles at that moment.
that's fascinating. A public health crisis inadvertently lowering a barrier to EV adoption. What else? The sources mention changing views, especially among younger buyers.
Yes, the Z generation, born after 95, There was older data suggesting they weren't that interested in cars. Public transport was good. And get this, they were apparently spending about 7.5 hours a day on their smartphones.
7.5 hours.
Yeah, so driving was seen as like boring time away from their phone.
I could almost see that logic, strangely.
But then a survey cited in the sources from October 2020 showed a massive shift. Suddenly, almost 70% of Z-Gen were interested in buying a car.
Wow, what flipped?
It seems to be how they saw cars. The survey asked for the word that best described a car. For Z-Gen, the top answers were really different from older groups.
What were they?
One of your technology devices and a smart mobile space.
A tech device, like a big phone you can sit in.
Pretty much. That mindset is key. It's not just transport, it's another gadget in their connected life. And that makes all the tech packed into modern EVs incredibly appealing to them.
Okay, so pandemic habits meet a generation ready to see cars as tech. Sounds like a perfect storm. But manufacturers had to deliver, right? This wasn't just luck.
Oh, definitely not. The boom was built on real effort from the car makers. One big thing was just having more choice.
More models available.
Exactly. Before, maybe you had one or two EV sedans, so you'd compare them directly to a gasoline car, and the EV downside's charging range would stick out like a sore thumb.
Because you're comparing apples and oranges almost.
Right. The source uses a good analogy. It's like complaining your smartphone screen is too small compared to a PC monitor. They're different tools.
So now with more EV options, SUVs, different sizes, different price points within the EV category.
If you decide you want an EV, you can pick one that actually fits your life, minimizing those downsides for your specific needs. It helps establish EVs as their own thing, not just a compromised version of a gas car.
And they really leaned into that tech device idea we talked about, building cars that feel like gadgets.
Absolutely. Look at the features highlighted. Advanced autopilot systems, for instance. Tesla's option is expensive, like $1,000,000, but lots of people buy it.
For the hands-free driving assist.
Yeah, and the potential for future full self-driving via software updates. That's very tech device. BYD has D-Pilot, NIO has NIO Pilot. This isn't some niche add-on anymore.
It's central to the appeal.
It really is. And then there are the smaller convenience things that resonate.
Like what?
Multi-driver profiles. Tesla Model 3 has up to 10, apparently. Car adjusts seats, mirrors, wheel automatically, easy entry-exit where the seat and wheel move out of the way.
Stuff that feels seamless,
Yeah.
automated.
Exactly, things you expect from premium tech. And connectivity, of course, is just table stakes now. 5G, Wi-Fi hotspots, seamless streaming, voice control. It's all there.
It sounds like the definition of luxury in a car might be shifting too. Less leather and wood, more function.
That's definitely an argument the source makes. The premium feel comes from the user experience, the tech integration, the smart features, much like an iPhone, feels premium because of how it works, not just what it's made of. EVs are becoming, running smartphones.
So they built the techie cars. What about actually buying them? Did the dealership experience have to change too?
Oh, yeah, big time. And it connects back to this whole idea. People still go to physical places, but their expectations are different.
How so?
They want really long test drives, not just 15 minutes, hours, half a day, maybe even a couple of days.
Why so long?
To properly try out the driving, yes, but also to really dig into all the tech features, you need time to play with the gadget.
Right, you can't explore an advanced system in 10 minutes.
Exactly. And they really don't like the traditional pushy salesperson rattling off options they don't care about.
So how are companies adapting?
Well, Tesla, for example, uses its app for a lot of the exploration, configuration, even purchasing. Staff are more like guides, answering questions when asked.
Less pressure.
Right. NIO uses things like WeChat groups for quick Q&A, sends short videos explaining features. It's much more about enabling the customer to explore on their own terms.
Self-directed discovery, almost.
That's a good way to put it. Facilitating exploration rather than just hard selling.
Now, underpinning all this market stuff, all these changes, the government's role? China's been pushing NEVs for a long time, hasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Since 2009, basically. It was listed as a strategic emerging industry way back then. There's been a whole raft of policies, pilot programs, subsidies, massive infrastructure plans, the double credit system. It's been a consistent top-down push for over a decade.
And the sources dig into a major planning document that looks way ahead.
Yes, the NEV Industry Development Plan, 2021-2035. And it's quite revealing. It shows they see the global auto industry shifting fundamentally.
How so?
Moving from a traditional chain supplier, maker, dealer to more of a complex network. Think mobility service providers, lots of cross-industry cooperation. China clearly sees this huge disruption as a major opportunity to take a leading position.
And the plan itself is pretty structured. There was a mention of 1+3x5.
Yeah, it's just their framework, one overall vision, 5 main tasks, 5 tech areas, 5 safeguards. The takeaway isn't the specific numbers, but the fact that they have this very systematic, long-range strategy for managing this whole transition. It's highly organized.
What are the guiding ideas behind it?
The document talks about innovation, green development, but the core thrust is really about integrating electrification, connectivity, and intelligence. Building a powerful auto nation, essentially.
And it set a pretty punchy near-term target for sales.
It did. The big headline number is getting NEVs to around 20% of all new car sales by 2025.
20%. And where were things when the sources were written? You mentioned the 2020 number.
Right. Despite that boom, NEVs were still only about 5.4% of total sales overall.
So going from 5.4% to 20% in just 5 years.
Yeah. It's incredibly ambitious. Really highlights the scale of the push needed.
What areas does the plan focus on to try and make that happen?
Several key things. Big focus on tech innovation core components, smart manufacturing, even vehicle operating systems.
Building the foundations.
Right. Also building a new industry ecosystem. Getting different industries, tech, energy, transport to work together. Fostering leading Chinese companies.
Moving beyond just car companies.
Exactly. And promoting deep integration. The plan talks about NEVs linking up with the energy grid, with transport networks, with information and communication tech. They use this phrase, person-car-road cloud synergy.
Like a totally connected mobility system.
That's the vision. It also covers infrastructure, obviously charging and battery swapping networks, including fast chargers on highways and smart charging at home, but also smart roads, even hydrogen infrastructure down the line.
And cooperating globally.
Yeah, deepening open cooperation, integrating into the global value chain is also mentioned.
And the long-term vision goes out to 2035.
It does. By then, they envision battery EVs being mainstream, high-level autonomous driving scaled up, public sector fleets all electric, fuel cell vehicles commercialized, plus efficient charging and hydrogen supply. It's a comprehensive roadmap.
Okay, so pulling all these threads together, the sudden surge, the mix of reasons behind it, how manufacturers adapted this huge government plan, what's the big takeaway? What's the main challenge looking forward?
Well, first, while that surge felt sudden, it was really this convergence of different factors building on years of policy groundwork. But like we said, that 5.4% market share...
It's still relatively small compared to the whole market.
Exactly. The source calls it a bustle in a small cup. Impressive growth, but from a small base relative to all cars sold.
And the buyers of the fancier EVs weren't necessarily mainstream yet.
Right. Described as economically comfortable, forward-thinking early adopters, basically. The real challenge, the one that determines if they hit that 20% target by 2025, is winning over the mass market.
The high-volume segments.
That's where they need really compelling EVs, and where people might still be more hesitant, maybe prioritizing the convenience they're used to with gasoline cars, convincing that main force of consumers is the next big leap.
And this all plays out against that backdrop of the industry shifting towards ecosystems, not just individual products.
Precisely. The competition is becoming about which ecosystem combining the car, the tech, the charging, the services is most compelling.
The sources also had a thought on how other countries might see this.
Yeah, little observation that places perhaps more focused on hybrids, like Japan, might need to watch China's approach closely. How China tackles popularizing pure EVs in the mass market. That could be instructive for everyone navigating this shift.
So recapping the sources, China's late 2020 EV boom wasn't just one thing. It was pandemic lifestyle changes, meeting a new generation's view of cars as tech devices, plus manufacturers delivering diverse, tech-filled models and changing how they sell them.
Right, all layered onto that long-term government push.
But the next hurdle is clear. Moving beyond the early fans and the microcars to get the average buyer on board. That's the key to hitting that ambitious 2025 goal.
Absolutely. The mass market is the next frontier.
So, as we watch the global car industry transform, with electrification and connectivity becoming central, here's something from the sources for you to think about. Could China's very integrated strategy, blending government direction, tech-focused innovation and adapting to consumer behavior actually offer a kind of blueprint, or at least a really important case study, for how other countries manage their own transitions to mass EV adoption.